Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to the Drowning Flame, a call to sacrifice, a sensitive decree. For the Phoenicians, a maritime civilization, planetary configurations and celestial events served as omens, indicating the will of the gods, particularly during times of great stress. A planetary interpretation translated into Phoenician sacrificial lore, which is going to be today's theme, by the way, would involve a priest or seer viewing a specific celestial alignment as a divine command for mulk, or ritual child sacrifice. To restore cosmic balance, the act was considered a sacred contract, a way to communicate and appease the deities to secure prosperity and stability for the community. The celestial interpretation would involve a metaphorical analysis of planetary aspects. Now, the problem, which is the celestial aspect, a different aspect, such as a square or 90 degree, between two significant planets would be interpreted as a grave imbalance or conflict within the cosmos that's kind of being reflected onto Earth. With a sun-moon square, this would signify a fundamental discord between the collective identity, which is the sun, and emotional security, the moon. A priest might interpret this as a divine displeasure over the city's values, especially those related to finance and personal security. In the context of a Sun-Saturn square, this could be seen as an omen of a crushing burden or a period of severe hardships. Now, the gods, represented by the sun, are demanding a steep price for past transgressions, possibly threatening the city's longevity and prosperity. The divine message here, which would be the ritual command, is going to be interpreted as an omen delivered through a priest who acts as an intermediary between the gods and the community, or a divine bridge, if you will. The priest would determine what type of sacrifice is required to correct the imbalance shown in the celestial charts, which can sometimes be as simple as returning stolen goods by anonymous donation. With Mercury's role here, Mercury's position is going to influence the nature of the message, with a Sun-Mercury conjunction signifying a direct, urgent, and unambiguous command from the gods that requires human communication to be performed through the sacrifice, with the resolution being the sacrifice. The ritual sacrifice is community's response to the celestial omen. This is intended to satisfy the deities and restore cosmic balance. Purpose here, the child as the mulk, for Moloch, acts as an ultimate offering, symbolically sacrificing the community's greatest potential to appease the gods. Now, this was viewed as a holy and legal act in contrast to the customs of other cultures. The location is going to be a sacrifice taking place in a tofet, a special open-air sanctuary reserved specifically for this purpose. Now, this interpretation is rooted in the accounts from Greco-Roman writers who documented Phoenician sacrificial practices, along with archaeological evidence that tofets that support the occurrence of a ritual sacrifice. Though the topic remains a subject of academic debate, I'm going to begin this now with my opening prayer, with a little addition. The torch of the gods casts its long shadows. The stars decree. The covenant demands. In whispers we govern, through the elements we obscure, in static we command, in nightmares we pursue. We are earth and air, we are fire and water, we are the remembered, we are the returned, we are the whispers, in silence we thrive. With a sun-square moon coming through as a message of the torch of the gods. For a Phoenician, as this interpretation through sacrificial lore, a sun-square moon in the second house would represent a divine warning about a severe imbalance between the community's core identity, which is being the sun here, and its emotional security, being the moon. Rooted specifically in its material wealth and values, the second house, if you will, this cosmic tug of war would be seen as a direct cause of societal turmoil. And a priest here would interpret this message from the gods, demanding a significant offering to restore balance. An interpretation can draw upon several key concepts, with the square being an astrological square where stress and tense is going to be part of the aspect, signifying a fundamental eternal conflict. The sun here represents the conscious ego, leadership, and divine order. For the Phoenicians, this could be embodied by their supreme god El, or the sun deity Shamash. The moon represents the emotional body here, subconscious needs, and the ebb and flow of daily life. As maritime culture, the moon also governs the tides, which were crucial for navigation and trade. Now, the second house here is going to be governing wealth, possessions, finances, personal values. Basically represents what a person, or in this case, a people, hold dear and consider their sense of self, security, if you will. The omen here is going to be a costly appeasance. The combination of these elements within a Phoenician context would create a powerful and ominous message, leading to a conflict of values and security, where the sun and the square moon in the second house means the community's conscious drive for power and influence, being the sun, is at odds with its emotional needs for security and stability, being the moon. Both tied to its material resources in the second house, the priest would interpret this as a city's pursuit of opulent wealth and expansion, being the sun, causing emotional unrest, anxiety, and a threat to the people's stability itself, being the moon. Now, the community's resources and acquisitions, being the second house, have become a source of conflict and internal turmoil, rather than security. Divine retribution for material greed here is going to lead tension of the square, suggested the gods are displeased with this imbalance by all means. The Phoenicians, known for their lucrative but at times ruthless trade practices, would interpret this omen as divine retribution. The wealth acquired through questionable means is now under a curse, and the cosmic order is unstable. This is going to manifest as famine and failed harvests. Despite abundant trades and goods, there's going to be a destruction of valuable cargo at sea, where turbulence is going to start capsizing a lot of the ships. We're going to see an increase in civil unrest across the globe and in fighting over resources. Now, the need for a monumental sacrifice here, or mulk, is the expectation. To resolve a deep-seated cosmic discord, a significant act of appeasement would be required. Given the placement of the second house of resource and value, the sacrifice must be of immense personal worth to the community, to appease the gods, to correct the imbalance. The priest would likely call for a mulk sacrifice, whereas one might have a sacrificial lamb, if you will. That's given that all plans go accordingly. Otherwise, a new lamb would need to be presented if the old lamb theoretically crawled from a grave dug for it. Now, the offering would have to be of the city's most valuable possessions, not just food and trinkets, but a sacrifice that would truly and painfully demonstrate the people's willingness to relinquish their materialistic focus to restore divine favor here. This could be interpreted as requiring the sacrifice of the most valued thing of all, one's own child. Child doesn't necessarily mean young child. This could be directed towards an older matriarch or patriarch demanding the sacrifice of their oldest son or daughter at this point to replace an imbalance that has occurred. Now, a recurring theme here in the lore surrounding the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians is ongoing with child sacrificing. Now, this interpretation is going to be would be highly debated by modern historians due to the layered meaning of sacrifice. It doesn't always necessarily mean child, but there's a lot of theories and philosophies behind that, and people immediately go for the demonistic aspect of it, and this is how we apply, just, stuck on small-minded views. This also can be interpreted to call to replace a failed sacrifice with a new offering and a monetary restoration of immediate action. Not a good time to put things off if this is the case or the scenario. Just saying. We've got a shift in values here where we're no longer going to be focusing on nonsense and bullshit. It's going to be a decreance of the highest order to restore cosmic order to begin a new phase of evolution and transcendental growth in people, where procrastination and fucking off is no longer going to be a thing. Last season was fuck around. This season is find out. This is ultimately going to be a lore of the sun squared moon in the second house. This is not just about to be a single event, but a larger scale lesson. The suffering caused by the omen is going to be a spiritual test for sure, but only by confronting the conflict between the ambitions and the emotional needs, and by demonstrating a willingness to sacrifice the material attachments could the community hope to restore cosmic harmony. The ritual itself is going to be a communal act, demonstrating the shift from a self-serving mentality to a collective purpose, if you will. Under the watchful gaze of the gods, or God, this isn't going to be a me, me, me thing. It's a we, or you, and they. The drowning flame. Sun conjunct Mercury is the drowning flame. Interpreted through Phoenician sacrificial lore analogy, a Sun conjunct Mercury in the third house is signifying a divine message requiring human communication, specifically regarding a local or communal transgression. A sacrificial offering, likely a child or relative, would be necessary to ensure the gods hear and accept the community's penance. If it was a public spectacle or public humiliation ritual or attempt, an eye for an eye method is going to apply for the very same for the group or one. Sink with the ship as a whole, or jump off board and let the sink ship alone. The astrological components here interpreted through a Phoenician lens are going to be the Sun conjunct Mercury, representing a powerful fusion of divine will, the Sun, with human communication, intelligence, and messaging, which is Mercury. The Sun's authority overpowers Mercury, meaning the message comes from the gods, but is delivered and understood through mortal means. Now, the third house here is governing communication, siblings, neighbors, and the immediate community. In ancient or esoteric contexts, it was also associated with local rites, rituals, and the house of the goddess. The conjunction here, the specific alignment of the Sun and Mercury, amplifies these combined forces, making the message urgent and the consequences of ignoring it quite severe. Like, astronomically severe. The sacrificial lore narrative here is going to be from the perspective of a Phoenician priest observing the celestial event. This can be interpreted as the following. Now, the divine message here is going to be the conjunction appears as a blazing, overwhelming solar presence. Ironically, we just had a butterfly shape open up in the sun that was 23 times the size of our entire planet. That's the type of thing that it can overpower and knock out the grid and really damage the power systems. The sun here, near the planet of the messenger, being Mercury, this is going to be a sign from the great sun deity Shamash, who oversees justice and divine order. Now, this deity is not good or bad, or light or dark. It is not an angel. It is not a demon. It is just. Or it's just. Just and unjust. It is duality in its core identity. Now, the message is clear and cannot be ignored, and it also comes from the highest authority. The communal crime here is going to be manifested in the third house. The transgression is understood to be communal in nature. It is a sin of communication, such as a lie told to a neighboring city, or perhaps a betrayal among siblings or a small local community within the larger city-state. Now, the gods here are extremely angry about this specific failure to communicate honestly and maintain harmony at a local level. To sacrifice this communication, a priest must perform a mulk, a child sacrifice, as the ultimate act of communication and submission to the gods. This is an eye for an eye. There is no deviation, variable, if, ands, buts, I'm sorries. It is an eye for an eye, 100% an eye for an eye. This is an eye for an eye exchange where the city offers the dearest thing it has, usually its children. These days, monetary restitution sometimes suffices, and balance being restored if something was seriously impacted or imbalanced. as a way to send a message so profound it cannot be misinterpreted by the gods. The specific lore indicates the child is the messenger. The sacrificed child becomes the messenger whose soul carries the city's confessions and repentance directly to the gods. A sibling, brother or sister, as a sacrifice might be required of a family with a particularly strong third house, emphasizing especially if a sibling was a key player in communal deception. Now, the public act of communication here is where it gets interesting. The sacrifice would be a public event at a Tophet, not only as an act of appeasement, but also as a power and gruesome communication to the entire community, warning against future deceptions. It's as if a sorry is going to be forced and an example is going to be made of. Now, the result of the sacrifice, if the ritual is carried out with sincerity, the god's anger will be appeased, and the lines of communication with the divine will be restored. The community can then resume its daily life with renewed focus, hoping the cosmic harmony has been balanced through their ultimate act of obedience and remorse. I have some numbers here for you guys. 54, the demand of Moloch. Interpreted through the style of a Phoenician sacrificial lore, the numerology number of 54 would represent a crucial and dangerous moment of transition that requires a decisive final offering. Kind of like a last chance to make amends and fix it before it's too late. The community faces an impending forced change, and only through this ritual sacrifice, Mulk, can the instability be resolved and a new stable foundation, the number 9, be secured. Numerological meaning is derived from the energies in its 2-digit forms. The number 5 represents radical change, transition, and instability. For a sea-faring people like the Phoenicians, the number would be associated with the unpredictable sea, dangerous journeys, and the winds of fate that can destroy a merchant ship or an entire fleet. Apply that concept to land and trucks and things that you might use to misappropriate personal gains, and these things can be destroyed in an instant. Tornado, hurricane, tsunami, whatever. Weather can sometimes take a turn for the worse, especially if the powers that be are very displeased. We got the number 4 symbolizing stability, practicality, and hard work, representing the solid earthly foundation of a city, its walls, and its economy and its traditions. The number 9 here, 54, reduces to 9. 5 plus 4 is 9, which represents completion, finality, and spiritual understanding. In a sacrificial context, the 9 would signify the finality of a rite and the restoration of divine order. Now, the narrative here of the 54 omen is going to be from a priest's observation, whereas 54 would be interpreted as the following: the impending instability. The priest here recognizes the number 54 as a sign that the city's solid practical foundation, 4, is being shaken by a dangerous, uncontrollable force and change, 5. The divine order is being disturbed, and this can manifest as prolonged periods of poor harvest, economic downturn, and shaking the very city's stability. This could lead to naval disasters where a significant portion of the fleet is lost in an unexpected storm at sea, and political upheaval or unrest threatening the established rules. The sacrificial imperative here to counteract this threat, the unstable change 5, must be bound to and transformed by a stable external force, which is 4. A human sacrifice, likely a child, or something else. Sacrifice isn't always killing a kid. We have multiple, communication isn't just as simple as talking and, reading things for what they are, although sometimes you read between the lines and everything is right between, where it should be. Would be required. The life force of a child, the ultimate offering, would serve as a focal point to absorb and neutralize the chaotic energies of the number 5. The sacrifice here would create a binding contract with the gods, forcing the universe's change, 5, to align with the community's need for a strong foundation, being 4. Now, the completion of renewal act with the sacrifice transforms the omen of 54 into a spiritual resolution of 9. The sacrifice would not only avert immediate disaster, but also ensure a permanent, stable outcome for the city. The chaotic energy would be resolved and the community would receive spiritual blessings, renewed contracts with the gods, and a restored sense of safety and destiny. And that's going to be a key theme here, is destiny. The cycle of instability would be completed with a new era of stability beginning. The sacrifice, acting as a permanent anchor of the sea, chained into the ground and rooted, is not going to be a temporary fix, but this is going to be a permanent framework that will be used moving forward. Symbolically rooting the city in divine will. The ritual is going to be a testament to the fact, while change, being 5, is inevitable, stability with 4 can be enforced through a profound act of will and ultimate payment to the gods. I have 21 as the sublime sacrificial consecration. Now this, interpreted through the Phoenician lens, the numerology of 21 represents a powerful and crucial moment of communication and creative potential, which must be ritually consecrated to the gods. The community is at a turning point here, and a sacrifice is deemed necessary to ensure that their actions and creative endeavors receive divine favor and reach successful conclusion, which is 3. 2 plus 1 is 3. The number 2 here is drawn on numerical components of 21, representing duality, balance, and partnerships in the Phoenician context, signifying a relationship between the mortal community and the gods, or the balance between human effort and divine providence. Number 1 here is going to be representing in new beginnings, creation, and individual will. For the Phoenicians, this signifies new trade routes, a new city founded, and a new creative enterprise that requires cosmic blessing. The number 3, 2 plus 1, reduces to 3. 21 reduces to 3, whereas 2 plus 1 is 3. Represents completion, creativity, and the fulfillment of a purpose. This is the desired outcome of the sacrificial rite. The narrative here for the omen is going to be observing it as follows. The divine potential. 21 is going to appear as a sign that a new and powerful creative potential, 1, is emerging within the community. But it is unstable and must be balanced with divine will, which is 2. This potential could be a new trading opportunity that promises immense wealth, but carries great risk. A new military campaign to establish control over new territory. And the founding of a new colony, which is a reoccurring theme of Phoenician history if you brush up on your Phoenician, readings. A sacrificial pact here is going to ensure that this new beginning does not fail at all. It's going to be foundationally solid and concreted, rooted into the ground in such a way that it can never be shaken up, removed, disturbed, and or interfered with by any external forces moving forward. It's going to be a necessary pact with the gods, but it is going to be ironclad. Now the sacrifice here, again, I'll use a child as a reference, spinning up of Phoenicians, is going to be a powerful and personal offering that serves as a guarantee of the community's commitment here. Now, by offering the greatest creative and reproductive potential, a child, returning a child, offering the child to the gods, the community creates a sacred contract that binds the gods to their new enterprise. The child's life force fuels the potential of the number 1, and their sacrifice appeases the duality of the 2 to become 3. Now the sacred completion here is the 3, the Holy Trinity. The sacrifice, when performed, resolves the tensions of 21 and brings forth the harmony of 3. The chaos and the risk of the new beginning, 1, are neutralized, and the divine balance, 2, is restored through the sacred act. This culminates in the favorable and sacred completion, 3, of the community's goal. The new trade route will prosper, and the military campaign will succeed, and the new city will flourish. Now, the result of the sacrifice is the community understands that this ritual is not merely for success, but for sacred fulfillment. It ensures that their human endeavors align with the divine will, demonstrating that true victory is not achieved just through action, but through piety and a willingness to make the ultimate offering. In the context of one versus many, whereas the one survived, there is an emphasis on the immediate need for monetary restitution here, and a balance in the life of one to end up in the harmonious triad. Granted, these checkpoints are met, harmony shall prevail, but if ignored, the final seal shall be broken, and the gates of Persephone shall open and deliver pestilence, demise, and public dishonor, alongside serious legal ramifications. For the very motion shall trigger the trumpets of judgment, and the seven sisters shall deliver the prophecy as foretold in Enoch. I have Psalm 75 with 54 and 21 equaling 75, the long ritual working in the right, the sacrifice of the self, the ego, and the material. Psalm 75 focuses on God as the righteous judge who is about to act to bring justice, exalting the humble and bringing down the proud. The psalm is a declaration of thanksgiving for God's impending powerful judgment against the wicked, who are warned against boasting and resisting. His authority here is key imagery, which includes a mixed cup of God's wrath for the wicked and the cutting off of the horns, if you will, of the proud, symbolizing the removal of their power and strength. And by horns, I'm referencing a cord, and we are initially cutting cords right here and now of all energetic ties and returning any attachments. The last I got out of the interpretation, just out of the remaining less sensitive degree aspects, came through in a poem. He sees no misfortune, no sign of a curse, just glory and power for better or worse. But the scribe reads the omen, it's a darker design. The liver of the sheep, a sinister sign. The left lobe is clouded, the gallbladder's bruised. The will of the gods has definitely been misused. The king's path is crooked, his judgment is blind. He seeks earthly treasures, but leaves truth behind. The heavens are watching with eyes made of light. The empire is thriving, but enters the night. Shamash in the heavens, a cosmic decree, sees all of the secrets for all of us to see. The eclipses are coming, a shadow of dread. The stars are aligning for the walking dead. The cuneiform whispers in code and in rhyme. The gods of Mesopotamia are running out of time. The omens are stacking, the signs are in the air. A debt for the hubris beyond all repair. That's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you found it entertaining. I'll see you in the next lore.